Hello everyone, we are learning about offer and acceptance of an offer. So far, we have taken a look at the meaning of offer, essentials of a valid offer, meaning and definition of acceptance, and essentials of valid acceptance as per the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now, in this video, I, Dr. Mariam Narona, will be taking you through the concepts of communication of offer and acceptance. As per Section 4 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, the communication of offer is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. Now let's try and understand what this means. When you receive an offer letter, an offer of employment, the communication of the offer is complete when you receive that offer letter either by email or by snail mail. That is, when it comes in your hands or in your possession, when you come to know of it, the communication of offer of employment is complete. The employer has sent it out, or the prospective employer rather has sent it out, and when you receive it, the communication of offer is complete. So also in case of any other example, I would encourage you to think of such examples on your own. Now, if communication of offer is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made, then what about communication of acceptance of an offer? Now, we know that as per Section 3 of the Act, the modes of acceptance of an offer are broadly two. You may accept an offer by an act or by an omission, and just let's consider what we mean by that. Now, when we say that, acceptance by an act, it means when we do something to satisfy the terms and conditions of the offer. It could be that we are indicating our acceptance. So, as I mentioned, if an employer sends out an offer letter, once you receive it, his side of the communication or his responsibility to communicate the offer is complete. Now, once you receive it, you may either go there and join work, commit an act of going there and joining work, or if you're unable to join immediately, you are required to communicate through a letter or email. Ideally, it should be a written communication and convey from when you will be able to join. You will first have to say that you accept the offer, and that if you are working somewhere else, that you require to complete your notice period or something like that. So in this way, you may accept an offer by acting in a certain way. You may also accept an offer by the omission to do or say something. Like, an omission is usually conveyed by you refraining from doing something. When you refrain from, say, taking up an offer anywhere else, right? Or you refrain from buying something from any other e-commerce site, even though there is a sale going on all the sites, so or multiple sites. So that could be omission or refraining from doing something. And communication of acceptance can also be carried out by conduct. Now, by conduct, it is like, if there's a vending machine and you insert a coin in it, or you insert some money in it to get a product out of it, or you go and you swipe your card at an ATM, what you are doing is by through your conduct, you are communicating your acceptance of the offer. Similarly, when you stand at a public transportation bus stop and you board that bus, you are accepting the offer through your conduct. So this is how communication of acceptance may take place by act, omission, or conduct. So just as a communication of an offer is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom the offer is being made, communication of acceptance of the offer is complete when it is in the process of transmission, that is, when the acceptor has put it in the process of transmission. This is against the proposer. That means when the prospective employee has either sent out a letter or an email communicating his acceptance to the prospective employer, that is the time when communication of acceptance from his side is complete, and it is complete against the acceptor once it comes to the knowledge of the proposer. That means once the proposer receives the letter, that time it is complete against the acceptor. Now, there are contracts in which there are some special conditions, and these special conditions are conveyed to the person to whom the offer is being made, and the acceptance may be conveyed tacitly, that is without you even realizing it. If you enter into that contract, you are indicating acceptance of those terms and conditions. So like a passenger who flies with an airline, the conditions of travel are printed at the back of the ticket, and sometimes your travel agent may bring these to your notice, other times they may not. And even if it is not brought to your notice, still when you're booking a ticket with that particular airline, it is treated as if you have accepted the special conditions the moment you buy that ticket. So now in a case of some contracts, there will be a standard format, and that standard format is enforced on you. Every time you choose to maybe send out an item by a courier service or by speed post, the terms and conditions are standardized. You cannot expect that they would be altered to suit your needs and requirements. And when you decide to use that particular service, that is a courier or a speed post, indirectly you are indicating your acceptance to those terms and conditions, to that standard form of contract. Now, one significant point relating to communication, right? We know that you may communicate your acceptance by acting in a certain manner or performing towards the fulfillment of certain terms and conditions of the offer. But at times the offeree may be required to communicate the performance by way of acceptance. Now, in this case, it is not enough if the offeree simply performs the act, but he should also communicate his performance, unless the offer includes a term that mere performance will constitute acceptance. Now, there's a very famous case of Carlyle versus Carbolic and Smokeball Company, in which the defendant, a sole proprietary concern manufacturing a medicine which was a carbolic ball whose smoke could be inhaled through the nostrils to cure influenza, cold, and other related ailments, they issued an advertisement for sale of this medicine. The advertisement also included a reward of £100 to any person who contracted influenza. Now, after Using the medicine which was described as carbolic smoke ball, one Mrs. Carlyle, she bought the smoke balls and used them as directed, but still she contracted influenza. Now, it was held that Mrs. Carlyle was entitled to a reward of the amount as per the advertisement, £100, as she had fulfilled a condition for acceptance. The further one point which we need to note is the advertisement did not require any communication of acceptance of this condition. It was not at all necessary to communicate the same to Carbolic Smoke Ball and Company. So the court in this process laid down some 3 important principles. Number 1, an offer to be made capable of acceptance must contain a definite promise by the offerer, or that he would be bound provided the terms specified by him are accepted. Second, an offer may be made either to a particular person or to the public at large. And third, if an offer is made in the form of a promise in return for an act, the performance of that act, even without any communication thereof, is to be treated as acceptance of the offer. So this was an important case which you can refer to even from the notes on the Indian Contract Act 1872. I hope this video was useful to you and you were able to understand very simply the concepts of communication of an offer and communication of acceptance of an offer. Do replay it and revise as many times as you feel it may be necessary. Do hit like if you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you find the content here useful, and leave a comment with your feedback. Thank you.